U.S. nuclear security fears prevent China from upgrading the world's most powerful computer. Details still ahead. 10 minutes past the hour here in Moscow. The way we view security and privacy, of course, was shaken up by Edward Snowden's revelations on U.S. government mass surveillance. However, there's plenty we still don't know about the NSA whistleblower himself. And two award-winning journalists try to shed light on the story in a brand new documentary. And RT's Yegor Piskunov met one of the authors.
The story of Hong Kong and his journey to Moscow and what happened while he was here has not really been told. And it was really, for me, it was a very important and exciting period. You learned a lot about how the world works, about how world politics worked. And it was, for us, very important to kind of remember what had happened there. And that's why we did the documentary.
It's truly a fascinating story, and there are a lot of elements from fiction even, kind of, including spy movies. I want to show you a clip from your documentary.
The question mark that hung over us more than anything else was the fact that we had no idea who the person was that we were about to meet. How would we know that we weren't talking to some agent or somebody else? So the quite ingenious method that he invented was to hold this Rubik's Cube, and that was the first thing I looked for.
Do you think that this whole story created a little bit of paranoia just among the public, which found out about all the surveillance programs?
I don't think that what resulted was an increase of paranoia, but rather a healthy skepticism about what the NSA is doing in the United States and around the world.
Obviously, there are a lot of challenges when it comes to this whole secret atmosphere. No one knows where Snowden is, you know, yeah.
Well, it was very, very difficult to finally work out a situation where we could interview Edward Snowden, because it was very important for the film to kind of hear how he experienced these events. That was difficult. It was very difficult to kind of get a coalition of broadcasters together to do it. It was an issue in Washington that people just did not want to talk about. It was very, very difficult to get anyone to go on camera. And we were very happy to get Michael Hayden, who was involved in the entire issue.
If you're asking me to delve into my deepest emotions, it was the arrogance of an individual who looked upon the activity of the National Security Agency and believed that his legal and ethical judgment trumped the judgment of his co-workers, his leadership, the American president, the American Congress, and the American court system in order to create the kind of moral righteousness that he claims. That's pretty arrogant.
Michael Hayden, the former head of the NSA, claims that he's actually, what he's doing is defending the American Constitution and defending American values. And the fascinating thing is that Edward Snowden is actually arguing the exact same thing, that what he did was to defend American values and the American Constitution. And so there's actually kind of a very interesting conflict between Hayden and Snowden around the issue of who actually is right on the question of what needs to be defended. Edward Snowden comes from a very old American family. There's admirals and leading military people in the family. He's one of many in that kind of military dynasty. His father served in the Coast Guard.
He just seemed almost depressed, and I was very concerned about him. It was not the Ed that I knew. I gave him a hug. You know, it was, you know, I love you, Dad. I love you, son.
His father, when he saw him once for dinner, was convinced that actually he was having difficulties with his girlfriend, when actually the reality is that Edward Snowden had discovered things at work that were troubling him.
RT International. The U.S. government has blocked the microprocessor giant Intel from selling high-end chips to China to help it upgrade the world's most powerful supercomputer, the Tianhe-2. Now, the U.S. Department of Commerce issued a statement saying that selling the chips to China would go against interests of national security. The statement expressed concern that supercomputers can be used to enhance nuclear strike capabilities. And we asked researcher and Asia specialist Dr. Tim Beale why Washington has taken such a tough line on this issue.
We have to realize that this is part of a long-standing issue, a long-standing dilemma, which has faced the United States and has faced, I suppose, all developed countries worried about competitors and challengers. It's a long-standing battle, and it will continue, and it will change its way of operation and the relative strengths of the participants. But yes, it's ongoing because countries which have the technological and military advantage don't want to lose it.
Well, let's have a look at what all the fuss is about. TNA-2 is the world's most powerful supercomputer. It can perform trillions of calculations per second, and that's tens of thousands of times faster than the average desktop. It cost almost $400 million to build, enough to buy 300 models of this supercar, or perhaps just a few islands in the Bahamas. In the meantime, the US government has reached a $200 million deal with Intel to buy a massive new supercomputer. And Dr. Beale told us more about the race for cyber supremacy.
The Chinese are very worried about American cyber espionage and surveillance. What they are doing is stopping Chinese companies buying equipment from the US. So in a sense, the Chinese have had a counteroffensive. These technological constraints, technological wars can spill over into hot wars. It is possible. Hopefully, at the moment, it's not probable, but it certainly is possible.
Still to come here on RT International, where there's a will, there's a way. We've got the story of a farmer whose disability and financial setbacks failed to crush his spirit or his resolve to support his family. That story and the rest of your Monday World Headlines coming up in just a second.
We are not talking the language of war, but I will only react to situations.
I have read the reports, but I'm not in a position to...
No, I will leave that to the State Department to comment on your latter point.
I don't want to say that.
Mr. Kerry, do you have any comments on the document? No. No comment? Thank you.
No more weasel words. When you evade a direct question, be prepared for a chase. When you throw a punch, be ready for a battle.
Freedom of speech means little without the freedom to question.